Welcome, everyone. This is Elevate with Sammy. We're back again this week. And this week, I've gone all the way to Australia where I'm meeting or I'm talking to one of respected voices in cyber security. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Phil Zongo, the co-founder and director of Cyber Leadership Institute in Australia. Phil, welcome to Elevate with Sammy, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. I'm glad to be here.
How is Australia today?
Oh, it's okay, given the circumstances. We all locked our houses, social distancing, and just hopeful.
Right.
Things are not as good as they should be, but we are hopeful that we will, this will come to pass soon and we get back to our normal lives.
Wow. Actually, I feel like this is now my normal life. It's kind of interesting because every day I'm waking up and going around my house, and I think in China, this is our 12th week. So it's it's kind of getting normal in as if this is it. I think when we go back to work, we're going to struggle, some of us, big time.
There's always the good and the bad, and we're trying by all means stick with the positives. But it's not easy. People are losing jobs. I think that's the most confronting thing. People are dying, people are sick, and people are losing jobs, and they can't see their loved ones. But like I said, we're hopeful that this will pass soon.
Yeah, but on the flip side, I think it's also time for people to reflect. I was just speaking to someone and I was saying, I think my life has been moving so fast, faster than me, actually, that I was failing to catch up on it, And right now, I'm kind of catching up with my own life and a lot of reflection and things that I really want to do. It's somehow been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally.
Same as here.
Yeah. You get to kind of reflect. All right.
Okay. So should I?
So now we want us to talk about you, right? Phil Zongo, the Cyber Institute. I mean, when I think of the word cyber, I know it's got to do with online stuff. And so can you kindly explain what is cyber? What's cyber security?
Yes, so basically, and I think as you appreciate, everything now happens online. You conducting this interview with me, we're doing it online, remotely. Yes. And same as, our lives are now digital. We got a lot of private information that's stored in cloud environment, communicate with our loved ones. We exchange very sensitive information about our health. We transact online. We move billions of dollars online. And that created a big opportunities for cyber criminals to, try to exploit some of the vulnerabilities that are inherent in those digital ecosystems to cause harm to people. And I think as we speak, we're seeing a lot of, phishing attempts, people spinning up websites that look like, legitimate websites by government authorities to steal money from people and to steal their private identities in the name of COVID. So basically with cybersecurity, what we do is we help businesses and individuals protect their identities and wealth in digital form. So pretty much like your physical security, but we take it online. So we hunt cyber thieves. Sometimes we catch them, sometimes we don't. It's a never-ending game.
That's really interesting. Hey, I mean, the idea of this is it because something happened to you? Were you maybe attacked online for you to? Because normally I've noticed that people, when they do something, it's got to do with maybe, something like this happened to me and this idea came up. Were you one of the victims or not?
Really, I think we all been victims of cybercrime. When I graduated back in 2003, I graduated with a degree in IT, and I worked as an IT intern engineer back in Harare, in Zimbabwe, come from. But my intent was always going to. I wanted to leave the country because the economy was tanking.
Right.
So I looked around and realized that IT audit was a booming career at that time. So I studied some course in IT auditing with some American institution, and that opened opportunities for me. I joined Deloitte, and then I was for about 2 years. Then international opportunities came up, so I came here working for PricewaterhouseCoopers in their technology risk department. And then a few years ago, I realized that cybersecurity again was becoming the thing. So I quickly pivoted towards that, just to align myself with the future. And I'm really glad I'm here now. So I wasn't really pushed into it because I was a victim of cybercrime. But having said that, a quick funny story: when I got here, about 12-13 years ago, I was given 2 weeks accommodation by my employer, and when that time was coming to an end, I logged on to online platform called Gumtree to look for accommodation. Then I got this really beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in a very rich suburb called Double Bay here in Sydney. And I was very excited. Then I applied for it, and someone quickly responded and said, I own this apartment. I'm a man of God. I'm doing missionary work in West Africa. And the apartment was remarkably cheap. It was like $300 a week when the median price was about $700. So I was very excited.
Right.
Yeah. And then I said I want to go and inspect the apartment. Then he said, for you to do that, you send me deposit via Western Union in Nigeria. Then my instincts just told me to back off. So it was a near miss. I wasn't really a victim per se, but I was pretty close. So right. I remember that vividly. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know so many stories. I mean, especially us females, we get all these mails and emails. And I know, and some telling us about an uncle who died, wanting to give you. But I'll tell you, there was one time that I also kind of fell for something like that. Actually, one friend more like saved me. I was also still back home in Zimbabwe, and then there was this job in the UK, and I kind of applied. It was like a really cool job, and they said they'll give me accommodation and everything. They'll fly me. I was so excited. Like I got this. I got a job in the UK.
Always too good.
Yeah. So I then told a friend of mine who was in the UK at that time. I'm like, man, I've got this. They want me to pay a fee, and this is their number.
Oh, yeah.
My friend was like, no, Sam, I called that number. At first, I thought maybe my friend was not telling me the truth, but later on, he kind of set me down and told me, like, what, these things happen. I was still young. I was like, oh, okay. But anyway.
Yeah,
yeah. So going to your institute, I understand that you train as cybersecurity officers. Now, what will be their jobs, these people, when you train them? What are you training them to do?
Yeah, so we, the Cyber Leadership Institute, we started it maybe about a year ago, and we set out to solve a very, very important problem. And that problem is the strategic leadership void that we have in cybersecurity. So we do have a lot of people who work in cybersecurity, and they hail from technical backgrounds. These people have been cybersecurity or IT engineers and architects. They've got their roots in technology, not necessarily in business. So the biggest issue that we see now is we see businesses spend billions of dollars in cybersecurity. Right now, I think the global spend in cybersecurity is more than 120 billion US dollars a year. And having said that, the ability of enterprises to defend themselves against cyber criminals keep weakening. And when we look deep beyond the surface, the major problem arise. There is a lack of leadership, strategic skills. So what we have done is we, with the Cyber Leadership Institute, we train people who are heads of cybersecurity, of senior cybersecurity professionals who aspire to become chief information security officers. So basically, we take them through an 8-week intensive program, which is online and it's self-paced. So, it's 8 weeks, but you can take much more time if you wish. And in addition to that, we've got weekly calls, which are 1-hour webinars where we, all the delegates call from all over the world. Right now, we're very fortunate. We've got a class of people from the United States, people from Europe, and from here in Australia. And in the next cohort that we have that's starting in June, we've got interest from all over the world, including Asia, including Brazil. So we are growing in terms of our reach. But the goal of the Cyber Leadership Institute is to impart those really leadership skills. How do you communicate with the board of directors? How do you manage cybersecurity as a business risk, not as a technology issue? How do you, enlist the support of senior stakeholders, your CEO and the C-suite executives? So we are lifting the game from, those, very technical based trainings into the leadership sphere.
Strategy. Oh, that's really interesting. So now I see you're saying people that all over. So after they finish, how's the job market? How's the job market? I know, technology, IT, cyber is something that is going on, but how's the job market like for a security officer?
Generally, the cybersecurity market is one of, if not the fastest growing domain in IT. So, as more and more businesses go online, and the cyber criminals themselves, they're moving online. A few years ago, if you wanted to make money as a criminal, you have to go and rob a bank, but then you risk a lot. You risk, some gunshots and being locked maximum prison for 40 years. Right now, they're just doing it online with absolute impunity because they can work from multiple jurisdiction. They anonymize their activities. Very hard for them to be brought to justice. So because of that, there is an increasing demand for security professionals, more so at that senior level, because the role of the chief information security officer maybe 5 years ago was not as prominent as it is now, with large organizations like Google, Facebook, the NSA in America. All these large organizations have been hacked. There's now more realization that we need strategic leadership to drive cyber transformation programs. So there's not really 100% guarantee that you get a job, but the beauty about the Cyber Leadership Institute is we provide the practical training. So this is not an academic course. The course is facilitated by 3 seasoned CISOs, and we've been there, we've done it. But importantly is the networks that you develop. So we're trying to bring people together to increase that collaboration. So if you spend 8 weeks intensive with other peer CISOs or aspiring CISOs, from there onwards, we create those strategic relationships. So by knowing people in the industry and putting your name out there, I think that really increases your chance of landing your next gig.
Wow, interesting. Actually, you know what? You've really sold me. Now I feel like I want to learn. I feel like I want to join the course.
I'll
Seriously,
send you a link.
sounds interesting. Really, I'm like, okay, I'm sold. If you're a marketing person, I guess you really pitch well. You get customers. Anyway, now talking of that, I know you've also wrote a book about cyber stuff. What is your book about?
Yeah, so I think just a step back why I wrote that book. As I told you, just to summarize my journey, I've been here 12 years or 13 years now, and originally from Zimbabwe. But actually, what's funny is, I came here with a lot of hope and aspiration. And I worked in PwC for 3.5 years. Then I moved in to work for some large financial services organizations for the next half a decade after that. But what happened in 2011, and it's a story that I shared Zim Awards event last year. I actually, terminated my lease. I resigned from my role, and I sold my furniture and flew back to Zimbabwe, and I had no intention of coming back. And the reason why, there's quite a number of reasons, but I'll just that struggle to belong. I thought that I would do best in my own home country, because I'm a minority here. And that belief system was never there, and I was operating in that sphere of mediocrity. And I'm someone who is very ambitious, so that tension between ambition and just being stuck in mediocrity really wasn't doing well with me. So I came back, but about 4 years ago, that's when I decided to push myself out of this mediocre life and do something that set my heart on fire. So I moved into cybersecurity from technology risk, which is kind of related, but I was going deeper now. I wanted to specialize in one thing and be really good at it. So writing my book was a way for me to develop that deep and irrefutable expertise. So I wrote the book mostly for myself. And when I transitioned from technology risk to cybersecurity, I ran into a frustration as well. I was, I found the subject to be very technical, and the material that was there for me to upskill myself was very arcane. The language was technical jargon. And then I realized the problem, because I knew that cybersecurity is a broader business issue. And if myself who spend a decade in IT can hardly understand some of the stuff, what more a CEO or a CFO who have no, roots in technology? So the idea for me to write the 5 anchors of cyber resilience was to demystify that complex language of cybersecurity and pass on practical guidance for business leaders to be able to actively challenge their cyber resilience postures and actively contribute to the strategy as well. So yeah, it took me about 20 months of writing every day. And I was just stuck in the process. The first days were very hard, but over time I managed to develop that muscle and eventually got into the zone, found the second wind. And I managed to publish my book about a year and a half ago. And I was really pleased that, within a week, it became an Amazon bestseller. It's been distributed to so many countries all over the world, and it continues to
in
well.
China as well.
Okay. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh my God. That's why I'm saying, this field is kind of somehow interesting. That is I want to tap into it. But anyway, now that you're saying that, you've done all these things, you've mentioned Zim Achievers Awards. You've received so many awards. Do you mind taking us through these awards that you received for the amazing things that you're doing?
Yeah, so like I said, when I when I set out to reinvent my career path about 4 years ago, the idea for me was to find those skills that were rare and very hard for other people to replicate. So I wanted to differentiate myself from the market. And one area that I found to be of strategic importance for my career was writing. So I wanted to develop strong business writing skills. So between January to March, 3 months in early 2016, I actually read 8 books on business writing. And I just wanted to go back to the basics and really, master those fundamentals and really refine my writing skills. And I had never published anything before. So after those 3 months, I started working on my first article. I wrote an article on cloud risk and security. And then I pitched it to an organization called ISACA. ISACA is the largest IT governance institution in the world with membership of more than 140,000 professionals across 200 countries. So I put in my article there. It took me about 4 months to write it took me about maybe 3 months to write a 4 pages article. But I eventually got it and they accepted and they said, we're going to publish it in our international journal.
Wow.
So when I woke up and saw that emails were the happiest days of my professional lives, because suddenly, my voice was being heard by almost 500,000 people across the globe. So I kept on keeping on. And luckily in 2016, when ISACA in Sydney, the local chapter, which is made up of about more than 1,500 people, they were celebrating their 40th anniversary. I was very fortunate to receive their first ever Best Governance Professional of the Year award. And, that fundamentally changed my career path. And I just kept reading and I wrote another article and put it to ISACA again. And in 2017, I woke up and I got an email from the CEO from ISACA in Chicago saying your article on machine learning, artificial intelligence has been voted the article of the year across the world. So we are inviting you to Chicago. So they invited me to Chicago to receive one of their global awards. It was a very, very humbling moment. It was very, very humbling moment. And they were giving 7 awards across 200 countries. And fortunately, there was 2 Zimbabweans there. So it was nice. 2 Zimbabweans out of 7 people. And we both went to Midland State University. So it was a good friend of mine.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
So, yes.
I guess students from MSU while listening, they might be challenged as well, eh? That's nice.
I was, yeah, so it just shows that, your past doesn't define your future. As long as you want it enough, you can get it.
Right.
So when I was flying back from LA to Sydney, that's when, I thought deeply about where I come from and the things that I achieved in a very short space of time of, just intense focus. And then that's when I asked myself, why can't I write a book? That's when I started writing my book, and then that got me to a book. I've received further additional awards, like you said. I was lucky in 2018. I was honored with the Zimbabwean Australian Highest Achievers Award, which is the Outstanding Achievers Award. Then I was also awarded the New South Wales African Australian High Achievers Award. Then last year I got an award from your organization from China, which unfortunately I wasn't able to come there, but it was very, very hard as well. Yeah. So it's been an amazing journey. I was nominated last year for Australia's Cybersecurity Professional of the Year by an organization called ISA, which is the largest cybersecurity professional association here. And I have, in the last 2 years, I've spoken at dozens of cybersecurity conferences. And in one of my most humbling moments was when I keynoted alongside the former head of the FBI cybercrime, speaking to
ask about that because I was FBI, you know, I mean, when you watch it, how was it like?
You know, it was scary, you know, it's so much pressure because, you know, we were speaking to a group of, two groups actually of very senior business leaders, CEOs and CFOs and directors. Was organized by one of the largest law firms here in Australia. And they, you know, we started off in Melbourne and then we came to Sydney. And the Melbourne event, there was a lot of pressure because it was, you know, the former the FBI and Phil Zongo, and almost everyone there never heard of Phil Zongo, and I was the only African looking guy there, and you know, and everyone is coming up to, you know, they're having their glasses of wine, champagne, whatever they drink, and they're coming to introduce themselves. So how did you get here? And then I say I'm one of the speakers, and they got a little surprised. But you know, because you know, I had spent a lot of time in you know, I'd done this before,
right? So
there was a lot of pressure, but I wasn't scared as I was when I stepped up to speak at my first conference. And actually, the feedback was great. The head of the FBI was so generous. He gave me a key holder. The one he got from me is an FBI key holder. He was very impressed by my work. When we came off Sydney, it was even, you know, he cut off his presentation from about 30 minutes to about 15 minutes, and he said, Phil will tell you everything. So it was very humbling. It was very nice.
That's really, really nice. I mean, we're really proud of you for raising the Zimbabwean flag first, and the African flag, of course. But that is so nice, like just to hear how much you've accomplished abroad, you know, not at home, because it's really hard to actually leave home and go and settle somewhere and actually be successful, to be getting all those things. This is really nice, and we're so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Hey, and for those of you who are watching and don't know, Phil is from Zimbabwe. So today I'm talking from someone from home. It's really nice. Anyway, now I know we've spoken about your achievements, which are so amazing. You're an author, you run a cyber institute where you train all these amazing people. You are a speaker, and not only a speaker, I can see you're also a seller. You can market. I mean, seriously, it's like speaking is just in you.